So there's a lot of people that say house hacking is not possible in 2023. I'm here to debunk that myth, and I'm going to tell you that house hacking in 2023 is still possible. House hacking refers to this concept where you invite your co-workers to be your renters, and they're actually renting out a portion of your house, whether it's the bedroom, whether it's a shared bedroom, and they're actually paying you a rent, and that goes to pay your monthly mortgage obligation. It has always been popular, but it has not been talked about the term has not been coined until now. And through like social media and many podcasts out there, such as Bigger Pockets, that the term has really just gained traction. But it has been popular, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that practice house hacking and they don't even know that it's house hacking. It is still possible to house hack today. It's a lot more challenging due to the higher housing price and the rising interest rate. You just need to really look for the diamond in the rough. You gotta look for a deal. You wanna look for a house that's somewhat dated so that you can get discount, so that you can actually have your roommates paying you the rent, which in turn pay for your monthly mortgage. But the ultimate goal of these videos is to give you as much value as possible. So let's go over some of the other questions that you might have if you're considering house hacking. Anybody that's got a decent credit and a steady income can house hack. So how do you know that you have the affordability for this home you're thinking about house hacking? Before you have a conversation with a lender, it's probably best for you to just check on Zillow for the monthly payment that Zillow suggests that you need to pay for this particular home before you have that conversation with a lender, so you don't really waste the lender's time, your time. And let's say that it's $3,000 a month according to Zillow, and your income from your W-2 job, full-time job, is $4,000. And that can be a little bit challenging because now you're left with only $1,000 for food, for gas and entertainment and so forth. So this may not be the home that you're looking to house hack. So you'll probably just move on and then get another home. Typically, the rule of thumb is that it's 1/4 of your monthly income. So if your income is $4,000, you can afford a home that's got a monthly payment of $1,000. And then you can derive the price of the home just from that, $1,000 monthly income that way. You can house hack anywhere, and California is not an exception, despite the housing prices here are so much more expensive than the rest of the country. I actually house hack here in the most expensive area of California, that is the Bay Area. Obviously, I did that 10 years ago, and I believe that you can still do that now. But what I did was I bought this home, $305,000. This is a 4-bedroom house. I had 3 roommates that happened to be my co-workers. They paid me rent. I used the rent to pay for the monthly mortgage payment. And this is the true definition of house hacking. House hacking in its purest essence is someone else is renting a room from you, and it's in turn paying your rent, and then use that rent to offset the mortgage payment. The home is worth over $1 million. It's approximately 3.3 times the initial investment. A 1% rule states that the monthly rent is 1% of the price of the home. 1% rule applies to house hacking in the following way, with a slight modification. So let's say that you own a 4-bedroom house and you live in one of the 4 bedrooms, and you're allowed to rent out 3 bedrooms. Let's say that the monthly mortgage is $3,000. So you wanna make sure that 3 of your roommates are paying $1,000 each, so that you're left with nothing to pay. They're essentially paying the monthly mortgage for you through the rent that you collect from them. So it's just a slight modification that basically each of the tenant, each of the roommate is paying a little bit higher. And now that you occupy one of the bedrooms, so it's actually 3,000 divided by 3 instead. So they're paying $250 more per person. The housing market is actually not as bad as people say, and it's all relative too. I did a market update just a couple weeks ago. I broke it down into the perspective of a seller, a buyer, or an investor. So as a seller in this market, is not really bad for you, because of the low inventory that we're experiencing. So the low inventory is actually propping up the housing value. But if you're a buyer, it's not really that good because of the higher interest rate. So the monthly mortgage payment is going to be a lot more expensive because of the higher interest rate. If you're an investor, there's never a better time for you to get into real estate. I say that the best time to get into real estate is yesterday. The second best time is now. If you can afford that home and if you can still cash flow, you should do it. Because like I mentioned before, real estate is bound to rise or appreciate in value over time. If you hold on to it long enough, and if you have time on your back, and you've got the money, over time, it's gonna be a very, very good investment for you. The best time to buy a property, and I don't care whether it's for house hacking, and in the context of house hacking that we're talking about here, the best time is yesterday. The second best time is now. I had a friend, he bought his house 2 years ago, and thank God that he did. He was a renter for 10 years and the monthly rent was $2,500. Imagine, okay, paying $2,500 every month for the last 10 years. That's $300,000. That could have been a down payment for a very, very nice home. He was saying, Kevin, I couldn't do it. You bought your house way earlier than me. But he was comparing the price that I pay to the price that he had to pay 2 years ago. There was a stark difference. I can't remember the figure. Maybe it was $100,000 or $150,000 of difference or appreciation. He just can't see that. I told him to bite the bullet, and he did. And thank God he did, because the interest rate is a lot higher now than what he paid before. And his house had actually appreciated in value over the last 2 years. Just in a short span of 2 years, okay, he got so much equity, and he still thanked me to this day. I think that if he can afford it, he sure can afford it. I mean, if you just look at that equation that I just mentioned, 10 years, $300,000, okay, that you actually gave it to your landlord, you could have just give it to yourself, right, and then build that nest egg. And that's what he did, and to this day he's still very grateful. So think about this, it's almost like a job, and I would equate this to a job of a physician on call 24/7. Any time of the day, hey, the toilet is clogged, the kitchen sink is leaking, the AC is not working, so on and so forth. Taking care of a house is like taking care of a baby. Except that the baby cries all the time, house doesn't, but it's lived by tenants, and tenants get stressed out living in a house that has problems, and they will call you. Do you want to be the one who is taking the calls, or do you want to hire a pro who will have people working for him to take in the calls for you? So it comes down to, do you want to drive yourself crazy? Do you want to be worn out? Do you want to be burned out by the process? So that's why we hear that there's so many burnt out landlords there, and we do take over their properties for them just because they just can't do it themselves. You think that you're young, you have so much energy, you can do this. Eventually you're gonna get worn out, eventually you're gonna be tired, and I really hate you to go down that route. I would say starting from day one, listen to the people who have gotten so much experience ahead of you and really just hire the pro to do the job right. When it comes to house hacking, it comes down to two things that I can think of. The first one is financial planning. Financial planning describes the price of the house that you're purchasing, and it boils down to the monthly mortgage payment. Before that, it's how much loan that you can get, or how much down payment that you can afford, and then the monthly mortgage payment is derived from the interest rate, and you just want to see whether that you can afford the monthly payment through house hacking. Okay, that is that your roommates are actually paying the monthly mortgage payment for you, or they're paying a big portion of it, and can you actually afford the remaining portion? So it comes down to that. Number two, it comes down to the location of the home. Do you imagine yourself living in this neighborhood? You certainly don't want to live in the ghetto, but in order for you to house hack, this is probably the best home that you can get in this neighborhood, in this location. So consider that, factor that into your decision-making process. Obviously, this is not gonna be the last home that you are going to live in. You can always level up, you can always exchange up. It's just a journey that you have to go through. It's just an event in the whole entire scheme of things. It's not gonna be the last home, so just it's okay. It's okay. Just make sure that, hey, your roommates are also okay with that as well. So it's still possible to house hack in 2023 like I did back in 2010. It's not as complicated as people make it to be. Until then, please make sure to subscribe to my channel so that when we drop the next video, you'll be the first one to know. Peace out.